New York basketball has returned, ladies and gentlemen, the mecca of basketball. I'm not even from New York. I've been to New York plenty of times. I've actually never been to a Knicks game. That is on the basketball checklist. As someone who works in the media, that has to be in the basketball checklist. I've been to Madison Square Garden. I've done I don't know, my parents didn't pay for the tour, but we walked in, you know what I mean? And we had a family friend who worked there, and I walked around the bleachers and stuff. It was cool. But the they said it best at the end of the game that this Knicks team made going to a Knicks game an event, a thing to do in New York. And that was cool. And I don't believe in this whole Tom Thibodeau style play is why this team failed. No, this team failed. Yes, obviously injuries are always going to happen. You're always going to run out of bodies. But I think the biggest thing is this team didn't work out. There was no Julius Randle, dude. They made it this far without arguably their second best player. And some might say that Julius Randle might not be the perfect fit for this roster. I think there's things that we can do this offseason that, you could prioritize to make it better, because this is a contending team. They have an MVP caliber player in Jalen Brunson. So let's get into the priorities for this offseason. Now that I guess we're going to have to start doing our predictions, but we're talking about what we need to prioritize as the offseason approaches. A week we'll do my predictions, but we're prioritizing what needs to be done. So let's go into it and talk about what I think they should do. So for me, I think this is a great team. So shout out my coworkers at Hoopsite for this information. What do we believe they need to do? I think the biggest thing is when you look at this Knicks squad, my gosh, were they a fun team to watch. I think for a lot of people, they went 50-32. They have the 24th pick, the 25th pick, and the 38th pick. I think they need So, look, OG Anunoby's coming back. Isaiah Hartenstein, Albert, Shake Milton are unrestricted free agents. Precious Achiuwa is a restricted free agent. So is Charlie Brown, Jacob Toppin, Dwayne Washington Jr., while Jericho Sims has a team option. Sims will come back, and most of the restricted free agents should come back. Now, I don't think any of Hartenstein, Birch, or Milton will be back. So they might use all three picks to replace those guys. As I think they'll be able to get a center like a Khalil Ware or a Ethan Almansa or an Ulrich Tumachi. Maybe they go for a veteran guy like, the center market. I'm hearing some of the guys might be drafted late, so they could go maybe in the back end and get themselves like an Ariel Hakaporti or a guy like, I think there is guys that they could use back there. I think there are, big men they can get in the second round, and then with their picks right there, they could bring in like a Kevin McCullough, and then they could bring in maybe a Jared McCain or I think Devin Carter just had too good of a combine. He's not going to be there anymore. Maybe a Ryan Dunn. So there's some guys that I think they can go out and get as replacements, and for those guys to replace Hartenstein, Burks, and Shake Milton. Now, I know most of these guys that we're saying were defensive guys, but you got to get, if you're going to draft people, you got to get Tom Thibodeau guys. I'm sorry. That's just how it is, ladies and gentlemen. You better bring in those Tom Thibodeau guys. But looking at this team, again, it's continuing to find ways how to improve it from where they currently are to being able to win a championship. I think that's the biggest thing that needs to be addressed. So how do we build a championship contender with what we have right here? And I think that's our biggest question is who would be somebody that they target that's going to be roughly available for them. Now, for me, when I look at this roster, I don't think they're going to be able to go out and get a big fish in free agency. And I don't know if Donovan Mitchell is even the guy that they should be targeting. Their financials, if you include the first, the player option and its first round picks, are at $154 million, $17 million over the luxury tax, and about $13 million over the floor. And the thing is they're probably going to waive or trade Bojan Bogdanovic. His salary is only guaranteed for $2 million, but it becomes fully guaranteed on June 28th. So watch Bojan Bogdanovic as a name that they could package on draft night. Now, I think this is a team that, look, OG Anunoby's awesome. I think Isaiah Hartenstein might be too rich for them, and I think they can find a replacement for Isaiah Hartenstein. I'm sorry, maybe I'm wrong, but in the 31 games that OG Anunoby played, they were 26-5. So they need to keep OG Anunoby, and he held opponents at 35% per second spectrum. It's just, he's freaking amazing. He's only played an average of 50 games in the past 4 seasons, but he's an All-NBA defender. He's probably going to be making more than $20 million a year, which is basically his player option. So will they pay him $30 million? It'll be interesting, and I think they got to. While Isaiah Hartenstein signed a 2-year, $16 million deal, and he joined Anthony Davis and Victor Wembanyama as one of the only players to have 85 blocks and 85 steals in a season, joining Moses Malone as, he became the first player since Moses Malone in 82 to record 12 offensive rebounds and 5 assists in a playoff game. So, look, they could offer him a 4-year, $72 million, but then there's other options in free agency. Again, if they didn't want to draft a big man, we could go over here and look at who could be available in the free agent market. Just from a big perspective, if they were to replace Isaiah Hartenstein, again, Jonas Valanciunas could be cheaper than Isaiah Hartenstein. Yeah, he might not be as good or versatile, but he offers you a different set of skills. Yes, the defense might be gone but Jonas Valanciunas is still a great screener. He can protect the paint. Yeah, he'll get exposed on switches, and post-ups aren't the most efficient way of scoring, which limits his impact, but he'll shoot a 3. And I'm not saying Andre Drummond or Dario Saric is going to, fix the guy, but Precious Achiuwa is also a guy that they could, focus on keeping. Drew Eubanks would be, or Daniel Tice, Mason Plumlee are all guys that they could go out and try to get. And there's also, technically reclamation projects out there that they could try. But I don't think free agency is going to be the way for this team to get significantly better. I think it is looking at the trade market and at teams that are trying to sell. I think if you're getting Malcolm Brogdon, I think would be very good for this squad. I think that's a team that can benefit from bringing Malcolm Brogdon in. Now, outside of that, I think you need to look at bench scoring, as I don't think Bogdanovic or Al Burks is coming back. Now, do you go out and use that cap space you have for a Malik Monk? Or do you draft, like I said, a Jared McCain and some offensive players instead of the Kevin McCullers and a big, and you get a big in free agency? That is an option. Very, very much so. So I think all cards are on the table in terms of what they can do, as I think they themselves are trying to figure out what's the best course of action. I think, you look at the back end of the draft, I think you can go out, get a Jared McCain, get a Kevin McCullough, all right, and then maybe in the second round, you go and get yourself, who's a microwave that you could get in the second round? I mean, a microwave, maybe you get a Cam Spencer, okay? You bring in Cam Spencer, Jared McCain, and Kevin McCullough, and then in free agency you do, Isaiah Hartenstein walks, and you bring in Mason Plumlee and a Jalen Smith. I feel like Jalen Smith doesn't fit. Mason Plumlee and a Daniel Tice. Kind of take those guys from the Clippers. I think that's a good solution right there in the interim. And you pay OG Anunoby, because you can't let OG leave. I think Isaiah Hartenstein's an easier guy to swallow leaving, but OG, I don't know if you can swallow that, man. I think that's the one where I don't know. I find it really hard to be able to let him walk, because you were 26-5 in the games that he played. That's just not normal production, in my opinion, again. But what do I know? I definitely think it is one of the more interesting offseason. So let me hear your thoughts down below. That's it for me, guys. Peace out.